He runs, alone and terrified, into the wilderness. But it is here at his lowest point that God meets him. In a dream, he sees a great stairway to heaven, a promise that even in his deception and exile, God's covenant plan has not been abandoned. This act of undeserved grace will follow him for the next 20 years, as the deceiver now finds himself on the receiving end of deception. He works for his uncle Laban, who repeatedly tricks him, first with his wife, then with his wages. Jacob, the hustler, is now being out-hustled, and in this long, humbling exile, he learns what it feels like to be the one who is wronged. Finally, after 2 decades, Jacob heads home. He is no longer a poor fugitive, but a wealthy patriarch with a large family. But as he approaches his homeland, an old terror grips him. He must face the brother he so deeply wronged. He sends gifts ahead. He divides his family into 2 camps. He strategizes, but he knows it may not be enough. He is about to face the consequences of his own deception. And on the night before this dreaded reunion, Jacob sends his family across the river Jabbok, and he remains behind, alone in the darkness. This will be the night that defines him. The Bible tells us that a mysterious man appears and begins to wrestle with him, and they wrestle until daybreak. This is no ordinary fight. This is a divine encounter. Jacob, the man who has spent his entire life struggling with humans to get what he wants, is now struggling with God. He is wounded in the process. His hip is put out of joint. He is physically broken, but he refuses to let go. He clings to this divine being, and in a moment of desperate, audacious faith, he gasps, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." And the divine being asks him a question that cuts to the very core of his identity. "What is your name?" In that moment, Jacob must confess who he is. "I am Jacob," he says. "I am the deceiver. I am the supplanter." And it is only after this honest confession that he receives a new name, a new identity. The man tells him, "Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome." He is renamed Israel, which means he struggles with God. He leaves the encounter with a blessing and a limp, a permanent reminder of his weakness, and of the truth that his greatest victory came not from his own cleverness, but from clinging to God in broken desperation. Jacob's life was defined by a struggle, and his greatest blessing came after a night of wrestling with God. Do you think it's necessary to wrestle with God with our doubts and questions in order to have a real, authentic faith? Share your thoughts. The next day, Jacob, now named Israel, limps to meet his brother. He expects a confrontation, but he is met with grace. Esau runs to him, embraces him, and weeps. The decades of bitterness are washed away in a moment of miraculous reconciliation. And from this point on, the story is no longer just about a man, it is about a nation. Jacob's 12 sons will become the 12 tribes of the nation that would forever bear his new name, Israel. This messy, complicated, and deeply flawed family became the chosen vehicle through which God would carry out his covenant promise to bless the world. The story of Jacob is a powerful and hopeful testament to the relentless grace of God. God did not choose a perfect hero. He chose a schemer, a liar, a man full of flaws and self-reliance. And he did not wait for Jacob to become perfect to bless him. He met him in the middle of his struggle, in the darkest night of his soul. He broke him of his pride, and he gave him a new name and a new destiny. Jacob's life is a promise that God is not afraid of our mess. He is not put off by our wrestling, our questions, or our complicated pasts. He can take the very things we are most ashamed of, our Jacob nature, and transform them into the foundation of a new identity. Our story is not defined by our old name, but by the new name he gives us, a name that is born out of our struggle and sealed by his grace. If the story of the man who wrestled with God and became a prince has inspired you, please give this video a like and subscribe to our channel. Join us as we continue to explore the messy, beautiful, and transformative stories of the heroes of the Bible. What's in a name? Does the label we are given at birth define the person we become? Or do our actions, our choices, our struggles shape our true identity? What if you were given a name that, from your first breath, meant deceiver, supplanter, the one who grabs by the heel? This is a story of a man whose very name was a prophecy of a life of conflict. But it is also the story of a God who can take the most flawed and broken material and forge it into the foundation of a nation. Today, we are delving into the messy, complicated, and breathtakingly human story of Jacob. This is not a simple tale of a righteous hero. It is the story of a trickster, a fugitive, a man who wrestled with his brother, his father, his uncle, and ultimately with God himself. And it is in that wrestling that he was transformed. This is the story of the birth of Israel. It is a story of how a man named Deceiver was renamed a prince with God. Our story begins with a rivalry that started in the womb. Jacob and Esau were twin brothers, but they were worlds apart. Esau, the firstborn, was a rugged hunter, his father's favorite. Jacob was a quiet man, his mother's favorite, a schemer who was constantly looking for an angle. His first great deception is almost casual in its cruelty. His brother Esau comes in from the field, famished and exhausted, and Jacob offers him a bowl of stew in exchange for his birthright, the right to the family inheritance and leadership. And Esau, in a moment of weakness, agrees. Jacob secures the future he craves by exploiting his brother's momentary hunger. But his greatest deception is yet to come. Years later, his father, Isaac, is old, blind, and ready to give his final patriarchal blessing to his firstborn son, Esau. But Jacob, at his mother's urging, conspires to steal it. He covers his smooth skin with goatskins to feel hairy like his brother. He brings his father a savory meal, and he stands before his blind father and lies, claiming to be Esau. Isaac is suspicious, but the disguise works. He bestows upon Jacob the blessing that was meant for his brother. Jacob has won. He has secured the birthright and the blessing. He has successfully supplanted his brother. But in his moment of triumph, he loses everything. Esau, filled with a murderous rage, vows to kill him, and Jacob is forced to flee for his life, becoming a fugitive from his own family.